What is up, though, Lions fans? You know what? It's a wonderful day. The Motor City Cats are back at it. I came to give you stats, not static. Whatever you do, keep your Lions news pragmatic. We got some interesting things going on in the world of the Detroit Lions, and we're going to get into those things. Welcome in. You know what time it is. It is time for Victory Monday, and that seems to be what every Monday is. The Detroit Lions, for the first time since 1934, are 10-1. Now, the way that they got to it in 1934 is that they won their first 10 games. They were 10-0, and then they lost their last 3 to go to 10-3 to finish the season. At that time, yes, they only had 13 games. And that was their first year as the Detroit Lions. Now, we know that we've been beating up on teams, good teams, bad teams, indifferent teams. We will beat you up. That's why we coined the Honolulu Blue Flu. All those things happen this season. So, the thing is, injuries. We have been hit by the injury bug. We've been bitten by the injury bug. And there has been a lot of injury news coming out of Allen Park. Obviously, we saw that Kalif Raymond was injured during the game. He left the stadium in a walking boot, so that is never really a good sign. Coach Dan Campbell has come to the podium and he has said, quote unquote, that he is concerned. He is concerned about the injuries to Kalif Raymond, Taylor Decker, Carlton Davis. Now, Carlton Davis and Taylor Decker, he said it's going to come down to the wire whether or not they play on Thanksgiving. Obviously, Kalif Raymond is a little bit more long-term, and we don't know how much long-term means. But this is a team that has been dealing with significant injuries. Obviously, Alex Anzalone was injured last week, and we played our first game without him. Jack Campbell did a great job filling in for him. We're going to get into those types of stats. However, let's take a moment to talk about Carlton Davis. Okay? And we're going to get into some JMO news as well. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about Carlton Davis. No, JMO is not injured. It's not injury related. Okay? It's just some loose ends that we need to tie up. Carlton Davis being injured, not being able to play against the Chicago Bears. We're going to get into the Chicago Bears a little bit later in the show, as we do our NFC North report, when we talk about what happened in the NFC North. A little bit easier because Chicago played Minnesota, right? So we really only had to focus on 2 games, just Chicago playing Minnesota and Green Bay beating the brakes off the San Francisco 49ers, which is not something that I didn't expect, seeing all the injuries that the 49ers had. But we've dealt with injuries. The Green Bay Packers have dealt with injuries. Chicago Bears have dealt with injuries. The Minnesota Vikings have dealt with injuries. Everybody in the NFC North has dealt with injuries, and everybody in the NFL has dealt with injuries. This is what happens when you are playing football in the NFL. Now, the Carlton Davis situation. There are those who believe that we'll still beat the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving if Carlton Davis can't play. There are those who believe that we will still beat the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving if Taylor Decker can't play. Now, the Taylor Decker thing is probably a little bit moot. I mean, Dan Campbell did say it was going to come down to the wire, but he did come back into the game, right? Now, conditions can worsen and all these things, but he did come back into the game. So I'm fairly confident, I would say, that Taylor Decker is going to be playing on Thanksgiving. I can't tell you 100% that he will. I can't tell you 100% that he will not. But Carlton Davis. So it was something in the knee. It was non-contact, but it was, kind of the back of the knee. Could have been the top of his hamstring or what have you. He was on the bike trying to make sure it didn't get stiff, and they said we'll need to see what it's like tomorrow, meaning today. So now when Dan Campbell gives that update and says, well, it's going to come down to the wire for him and Taylor Decker. If you watch that game, yes, the Detroit Lions held the Indianapolis Colts to 6 points on 2 field goals. Is what it's been 10 and a half quarters since they gave up a touchdown. That's fine. Anthony Richardson, I believe, was 11 for 28. It was 39% passing. A lot of the reason that he has such a low percentage was the pressure being applied by Aleem McNeil up the middle. And then there was Jack Campbell. They did a lot of, delayed blitzes and stunts and things like that to confuse Anthony Richardson. And he just could not deal with the pressure in his face. But the lone, I would say, concern in that secondary was Kindle Vildor. Now, I have said many times that Kindle Vildor played very well for what he was asked last season. Meaning, he was asked to be a starter, and in reality, this season, he's like our 5th or 6th corner. Okay, so let that sink in. Kindle Vildor was asked to be a starter, and when in reality, this season, he is our 5th or 6th corner. He wasn't supposed to be starting last year, so I wasn't very harsh in my assessment of him and what he does. He played awfully bad yesterday. He was the target yesterday. Okay? Teams identify players all the time. Okay, this is a guy that we can target. This is a guy that we can take advantage of. Yada, yada, yada. This is a normal part of the game. It's nothing new. Kindle Vildor was a target. They were like, if we want to throw the football, we need to find where he's going to be and throw the football there. He was so much of a target that it was like the Indianapolis Colts forgot that Carlton Davis was even there. Okay? And all of this was mitigated because of the pressure. So then if you look at that, then you can say, well, Chicago's offensive line is terrible. Chicago's offensive line is terrible. So we should be able to get similar types of pressure. Okay? We should be able to get pressure on Caleb Williams. And also, when you get pressure on Caleb Williams gets happy feet and he starts running around in the pocket. Now, what Caleb Williams has been able to do and understand is how to run around just long enough to get everyone to turn their backs so that he can scamper for a 10-yard gain while no one is looking. So if we want to keep him in the pocket, keep him from scrambling, keep him from getting loose, obviously we're going to have people up like spies on Caleb Williams. What is going on, Frog Crop? What is good, my guy? Ennis Rakestraw, okay? If you saw it, if you didn't see it, I did a video on Ennis Rakestraw a couple days ago, and I was wondering if anyone was concerned with his injuries. And some people said that they were concerned. Some people said that they were not concerned. Well, here's why I was concerned. Ennis Rakestraw is now on injured reserve. Terrion Arnold is coming back, most likely, right? Going to play on Thanksgiving. It looked like he was on track to play this game against the Colts, but I guess they decided, hey, we can throw Kendall out there and we can let him run around a little bit. Something that they saw on tape, obviously, with Anthony Richardson. Maybe he moves off of his first read too fast, and and that first read was always going to be Kindle Vildor, and he's going to pull the ball down and scramble around and not really make too many plays, as long as we could keep him from just getting downfield on us. Ennis Rakestraw is on injured reserve. He can't be the backup for Terrion Arnold. Ennis Rakestraw is on injured reserve. He can't be the backup for Carlton Davis. There's no one who is a fan of the Detroit Lions. No one who is a fan of the Detroit Lions who believes that Kindle Vildor is a better backup option than Ennis Rakestraw Jr. It doesn't even matter that it's his rookie year. It doesn't even matter that he really doesn't have a whole lot of snaps as a starting corner, or not even as a starting corner, but as a corner who has had a lot of game time. He doesn't have a lot of game time. But everyone and their mother trusts Ennis Rakestraw more than they trust Kindle Vildor. Okay? Because Kindle Vildor yesterday was looking like Jeff Okudah. Okay? And it's hard to look like Jeff Okudah because of all the things that Jeff Okudah represents. A number 3 overall pick and things of this nature. But as far as technique and getting burnt and not being able to stay with receivers, that was Kindle Vildor yesterday. I understand he could have been nervous. He hasn't had many snaps. He hasn't had a whole lot of run. Guys, if you're in here, I got subscribers mode only, so just subscribe. It costs you nothing. It's free, and join the conversation. Come on in. Say what's up to the people. Kindle Vildor could have been nervous. It could have been because he doesn't have a whole lot of snaps this season, and whatever the case may be. That's fine. That's a great excuse. I don't care. Okay, I don't care. I was calling for Emmanuel Mosley very early and very often. Atur, what is going on, my guy? Glad you found me again. And that was an interesting situation as well that I had to move from. So Atur says Vildor plays too nervous to be that level. Okay. Yes, he plays scared because he's not great. Now, obviously, last season he had no choice but to reach inside and find whatever was in him to hold up against people like CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, and the list goes on. Where did that confidence go? And I'm not saying that he was 100% like good. No, he wasn't good last year. He was serviceable for what he was asked to do. What's going on? 313 Thug Boss. Victory Monday, indeed. So I was just kind of disgusted yesterday watching Kindle Vildor flail around and just be absolutely lost. I think we were fortunate, and it's no one's fault. It's not AG's fault. It's, AG has been doing a great job. When someone goes out, someone else steps in. We've dealt with a lot of injuries. I started off the top of the show by saying we've dealt with a lot of injuries. So AG's done a great job. There is no shade at AG, nothing. AG is playing his defense. And from what he saw last year and what he sees in practice and all these things, they have confidence in Kindle Vildor. And until yesterday, I had confidence in Kindle Vildor as a capable fill-in, not as a starter, but as a bridge to Terabithia. No, just as a bridge player when someone is injured, maybe for a game or two, when someone is injured for a quarter, when someone is injured for a few plays. I thought, hey, you could put in Kindle Vildor and he would make not that he would make plays, but he would make it a slightly difficult, slightly. Okay, like that's the level of respect I have for Kindle Vildor's game. Now, yes, Kindle Vildor is an NFL player. He made it farther in the game than I did. And I'm not going to compare myself to Kindle Vildor as I would to Jeff Okudah, because I just really dislike Jeff Okudah. But he didn't look like an NFL player yesterday. He looked like he should be the third overall corner on a USFL team yesterday. This is what he looked like. He didn't look good at all. Okay? So it is very concerning to me. Vildor had no penalties. Cool. I'm glad he didn't have any penalties. That wasn't my concern with Vildor. My concern with Vildor is he was getting burnt. Right? There were a few throws that Anthony Richardson missed, and he missed them largely because of the pressure. And he couldn't step into the throws. And also because he doesn't understand touch just yet. Because this is, in essence, his rookie season, right? He only played 5 games last season before he got injured. He got benched for 2 games this season. So he really has not played a full season yet, and this is his second season in the league. So there's some things that he doesn't understand about the game. Okay? He doesn't understand. Well, I've got Alec Pierce, who is pretty much the number 1 deep threat in the NFL by the numbers. Let me just put it up a little bit more so he can run underneath it. Okay? Now, on the one play that I'm talking about, the first play where you saw the inefficiency of Kindle Vildor, he missed Alec Pierce deep, and if he would have floated it a little bit more, it wasn't like Kirby was in position to get it. And Kirby wasn't in position to get it because Kirby is not used to playing out of position this year. Last year, he was used to playing out of position because of Kindle Vildor and because of Cam Sutton. And he looked like he wasn't as good as he is. So now Kirby has settled into playing in position, in phase, covering his zone, covering his man. You know, league leading PFF grades and all these things, and very, very low percentage, completion percentage when you throw at Kirby Joseph, and all the list goes on. But now you put Kindle Vildor in, and probably seeing what Kindle does in practice and seeing his ability or whatever on the field, it just didn't translate. So now you're like, I got to get back into the mindset of playing imperfect football, where Kirby Joseph was in the mindset of playing perfect football. So if he hits him if he just floats it a little bit, Alec Pierce runs up underneath it, and that's a touchdown because no one's catching him. Gonna hurt a lot if Carlton Davis can't go against the Chicago Bears. Why? Because you have multiple people that you can put on Kindle Vildor. And it doesn't even matter who you put on Kindle Vildor. Because Terrion Arnold comes back and he locks down one side. Let's say he's on Rome Odunze, and Rome Odunze gets no catches. And Keenan Allen is in the slot, and he gets a couple catches because Amik Robertson is just doing his thing. Well, then you got DJ Moore, who can rotate on over there onto Kindle Vildor. And then you can put DJ Moore in the slot, and then you can put Keenan Allen on the outside, and he can be covered man on man by Kindle Vildor, and he can eat. And then you can rotate Rome Odunze over there, and he can be put on Kindle Vildor, and he can eat. This is the problem. This is the problem with the Chicago Bears. If you can get the pressure on Caleb Williams, one thing that would probably help him this game is that he doesn't know how to end plays. All right, Tua, I'm going to get to your comments in a minute. Okay? He doesn't know how to end plays. He doesn't know how to give up on a play and throw it away. And this is why he takes 15-yard sacks at the wrong time. If he's able to do that against Detroit and Kendall Vildor is out there covering for more than 2 seconds in the 4-second variety, like Caleb Williams likes to hold the ball for 4 seconds, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. So I am very concerned, very, very concerned if Carlton Davis cannot go against the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving. All right, let me look at these comments that we got here. 313 Thug Boss says he likes the victory bus. I appreciate you, my guy. I appreciate you. All right. So Artura says competent, capable. I agree. I was also shocked at how close he was tracking guys yesterday, but well under engaged at the point of reception. There were some where he was just beat by 3 steps. And if you are beat by 3 steps in the NFL, you are burnt toast. Just ask Jeff Okudah. All right. Let's get on to the offensive side of the football. Jameson Williams. Gun charges are not a thing. The funny thing is I got a... Should I read the comment on air? Hold on, let me read the comment. I'm just going to read the comment right quick. Let's see. I'm just because I want to be very accurate with this. I don't want to shortchange this guy. Okay. Let's see what these comments are. Hold on. And I'm also not going to take too much time if I can't find the comments, because obviously I don't want to play the video while I'm streaming. Let's see if I can find the comments. Can we find the comments? Okay, forget it. All right, forget the comment. But I'm going to tell you what the guy said in a nutshell. So basically, this guy listed all of... Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. So the title of the video is what the real reason why the haters hate on JMO. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it. Nah, because I already commented on. All right, so here's the thing, right? Hold on, let me see. Nah. So what the comment basically said was, JMO's an F up. He's a bad person because he got a gambling suspension. He got a PES suspension. He had gun charges, which he doesn't, which is what I was just talking about. So that makes him a bad person and a bad role model. I again, have defended JMO since he came in the league. I have dubbed myself the official keeper of the JMO. Everybody knows that. Why are we... Again, and I already know the reason for this. So now that the gun charges have been dismissed, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Now that the gun charges have been dismissed against JMO, or not even dismissed, they weren't, it wasn't ever a thing that happened. Okay? There were no charges that were ever filed, and now there are no charges that are ever going to be filed. Because once the investigation was done, they deemed that there were no files, that there were no charges that needed to be filed. This is what they said. Okay? No charges that needed to be filed. There's no trouble coming the way of Jameson Williams. Obviously, he's not going to be suspended by the NFL. So what's going to happen is all the people that are continuing to hate J-Mo, continuing to leave comments and most of the comments are actually very positive. Okay, when someone comments on my videos about J-Mo, they're mostly very positive. Okay, I haven't had not many comments at all that were not positive. Okay. What's going to happen is now people are going to go, oh, well, he's still a bad person because he had a gun. As if people in Detroit shouldn't have guns. I love my city. Detroit is one of the places you should have a gun. I'm sorry. I love my city, bro. I'm from the east side of Detroit. That's a place where you should have a gun. Anybody that knows about the east side knows you should have a gun. Okay? I lived on Longfellow. My grandmother lived on Canton. I walked through the east side of Detroit to go to school every day. Okay? I almost got kidnapped once. But I had the street smarts as a young kid and the wherewithal. I saw a dude watering his grass and I just ran up on him and acted like I was talking to him. And this person that was gaining on me, okay, because unceremonious, like you just don't walk up on a kid like that, right? So that person just walked right by and kept on going, and I waited until he turned the corner, and then I kept on my merry way home. Okay? There are other things about where I live that I won't talk about. But the east side of Detroit, you should have a gun. Okay? And where he got stopped at, you should have a gun. Not to do the Ja Morant thing and to be a fake thug and a fake gangster. No, just for protection. Just as he told the police. I carry a gun to protect myself because I live in Detroit. True statement. Truer statement never been spoken. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, but that's what's gonna happen. So now it's gonna be, because the charges are not gonna be filed. It's gonna be a whole thing where people are just it's gonna try to find a reason. All right. So Altura says J-Mo is fine. I like the guy and the player. He's all good with me. If you see comments from the Keys of Wisdom, ignore him. It's a hood wearing Lions fans. J-Mo is his number one target. The Keys of Wisdom is blocked on all social media platforms. Every account that I have where I go in, I watch the heavyweights or any of Woodward Sports. Shout out to Woodward Sports. Shout out to the broadcasting crew. Shout out Armani and Edwards. Shout out Spinmo. Shout out Easy. Shout out JB. Shout out Detroit Kool-Aid. Shout out Matthew Broder. Shout out T. Foss, Darren McCarty, Neil Rule. Everybody except Sam Flannel. Okay? Shout out all those people. But the Keys of Wisdom he's been blocked, bro. I don't deal with the Keys of Wisdom at all. Okay? I do not. All right, so let's get back to talking about these Detroit Lions and their dismantling of the Indianapolis Colts. There comes a point where we, as Lions fans, right? This is new territory for us. We are rooting for ancillary things and things that are not the main thing. Like, I wasn't focused on the main thing when I was watching the Colts after a certain point, right? Here's something else apparently Carlton Davis said. He said, basically, in a nutshell, We are letting you get that first drive off so you can overplay your hand and expose what your game plan is. I mean, he might not be lying, right? What happened? Well, they drove right down the field and they got a field goal. They got 3 more points for the rest of the game. Their opening drive, they drove right down the field and got a field goal. They put points on the board on the opening drive very quickly. 3 points the rest of the entire game. Okay, so we're talking about within the first 5 minutes of a 60-minute game, they got points. The rest of the 60 minutes went by and they had 3 more. So what I was rooting for at a certain point in that game was our streaks. And I was very upset. I was very upset that Amon-Ra St. Brown's touchdown streak came to an end. He does have the franchise record. I think it was 8 games straight with a touchdown. Our turnover streak, although we had a few missed opportunities, Jack Campbell tipped a pass that he couldn't. Who was it? Carlton Davis couldn't come down with. I think if Carlton Davis's thumb isn't broken, he comes down with that. You know, because having opposable thumbs, it turns out playing football is an important thing. Okay. And there were some other near misses. I think Jack Campbell may have been able to pick that one off himself. Our turnover streak ended at 14 games. The longest turnover streak in the NFL. We went 14 straight games causing a turnover. Aleem McNeil punching the ball out of Anthony Richardson's hands and it bouncing right back to Anthony Richardson. It was that type of game for our streaks. For our streaks. It was that type of a game. It wasn't that type of a game for our players. For our team, it was that type of a game for our streaks. Our streaks did not survive. Some of them survived, like David Montgomery, or I should say Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery scoring a touchdown each and us winning the game. We're still undefeated when they've done that, a.k.a. Sonic and Knuckles. I'm going to embrace the Sonic and Knuckles nickname. I had embraced Sonic already. I'm gonna deal with the Knuckles. Okay, I'm not gonna poo-poo it anymore. I'm not gonna say I'm not doing Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles. Both of those are my guys. So I'm doing it. I'm fully on board with Sonic and Knuckles. I'm gonna call them Sonic and Knuckles a few times in the next few minutes here just to talk about it. Sonic and Knuckles racked up 127 yards rushing. Sonic, being Jahmyr Gibbs, got 90 of those. Knuckles, being David Montgomery, got 37 of those. Now, the reason that David Montgomery, and I'm pretty sure, only had 37 yards is because he got injured and he went out. But he came back and he was ready to go. So we're not worried about David Montgomery not being able to face his team, his old team, his former team, where they didn't want him anymore, where they cast him aside. He's already faced them twice, beat them once, lost to them once. So obviously wants to beat them again, wants very badly to beat them again, the Chicago Bears. He will face them on Thursday. Sonic and Knuckles are the most dynamic duo in the NFL for a few reasons. Because they can both do the same things, but just not as well as the other. Knuckles, a.k.a. David Montgomery, was recently compared to Earl Campbell, if you're not old enough to know who Earl Campbell is, and I'm actually not old enough to know who Earl Campbell is as far as like watching him. Obviously, I never watched him play because I wasn't born in the 70s. But I'm old enough to have seen his highlights in a relatively recent fashion from when he was playing football. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with Earl Campbell's game, go get familiar with Earl Campbell's game. Now, Earl Campbell is he still alive? The last time I checked, he was still alive, right? He's having some issues with mobility and walking around and stuff because he was an absolute battering ram in that time. Okay? Back when the face masks were huge and people had stickum just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You could just see the stickum everywhere, right? You see, I can't take, right? That type of stickum, it was that type of game, right? Battering ram. Run through you, run over you, step on your face, all that stuff, okay? Not anything malicious, right? David Montgomery is back there pushing piles, bro. 5-6 people jumping on top of him. He's pushing piles all the way down to the goal line. He does this like almost every game, okay? But he has some wiggle and he has some speed. Sonic, a.k.a. Jahmyr Gibbs, or Jahmyr Gibbs, a.k.a. Sonic, I should say. He's got a little bit of power, right? He's got some nastiness to him. Remember that taunting penalty, which was, by the way, the softest taunting penalty I've ever seen. Why they called that a taunting penalty beats me. But then we have Jake Bates Motel, who I call Jake Bates Motel because his leg is psycho. He goes back there and kicks a 48-yard extra point like it was a 20-yarder. Okay, he just nothing. All right, Jahmyr Gibbs is so freaking fast. And if Jahmyr Gibbs, now I'm not saying anything to disparage the Detroit Lions, okay? We just play a different style of football. That's it. Go back and watch the game last night between the Rams and the Eagles. Go back and watch it. Watch Saquon Barkley get 255 yards rushing. If our running game was predicated the way that theirs is, because they are, listen, Jalen Hurts and throwing the football isn't Jared Goff and throwing the football. I'll just say that. I think Jalen Hurts had 170 yards last night. Well, you know, when your running back has 302 total yards, I get it. I understand why you wouldn't have a whole lot through the air. Okay? But some of those schemes, some of those blocking schemes, some of those, you know, backside zones, some of those cutback schemes, like some of those things, if Jahmyr Gibbs was in that offense, and I'm not, again, I don't want y'all thinking I'm saying anything against the Lions, right? Our offense is a whole lot more balanced, I believe, than the Philadelphia Eagles. But if he was in that type of just pretty much run heavy, because you're running with your running backs and then you got a quarterback that can run and all those things. If Jahmyr Gibbs was in that thing, he probably has 400 yards last night. Why? Because Jahmyr Gibbs has so many 70-yard runs that have been loading, where it was just one guy and it's in a crowd, and he just so happens not to come out of the crowd. It was just that last guy, right? He's made 5 dudes look silly within that crowd, and it was just the last guy and the angle and all this stuff. Okay, so Jahmyr Gibbs getting 90 yards He had at least one 70-yarder loading last night or yesterday afternoon, not last night. Okay, at least one 70-yarder loading. All right, I've seen him have 60-yarders and 50-yarders and 70-yarders load. I've seen him all year, and he's broken a couple of them. Right? That guy, the man that they call Sonic, is an extremely dynamic running back. And he is on our team. Artur says Thursday is a big stamp your name game. 100%. Artur says the Eagles have played the 5 worst run defenses in the NFL in their last 6 games. Again, I'm not saying anything about, because when we played the best run defense, Jahmyr Gibbs broke one for 70 yards. Okay, remember when the Titans had the best run defense in the league by the numbers, and he broke a 70-yarder? I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Okay? I'm not saying the Eagles are better. I'm not saying any of that. Okay? I believe the Eagles are not as good as the Detroit Lions. I believe that it's a close matchup, but then I also believe that the very offense, and it's not a direct comparison, but the very offense that I'm talking about with Jalen Hurts being a threat to run and Saquon Barkley also being a threat. Now, let me say publicly that I was wrong about Saquon Barkley, but I was wrong in one way. I didn't think he could be what he is now because I didn't think he'd be able to be healthy. I thought that if you put him in the Eagles run scheme and you put him behind the Eagles offensive line, I thought that it could make a difference, but I just didn't think he had the ability to stay healthy. There's something we need to study. We need to study the Eagles. And now they have had some injuries, but we've had 2 straight years where a running back who couldn't stay healthy and DeAndre Swift and a running back who couldn't stay healthy and Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles and deal with no injuries. So whatever they got going on in their running back room, we need to figure it out. Okay, now our running back room has been largely healthy, and I hope that it continues to stay that way, especially with all of the other, injuries that we're dealing with. The running game is the straw that stirs the drink. Okay, the offense is the straw that stirs the overall drink, but the straw that stirs that drink is the running game. Okay, so we need those guys to stay healthy, and I hope that they will. But whatever's going on over there in the backfield with the Eagles, we need to kind of study that. Obviously, they've had, Devontae Smith missed the game last night. A.J. Brown has missed games. So it's not like they don't get injured. I'm just saying these running backs, or maybe it's just the desire not to be in the places that they were in. Maybe there were games that Saquon could have played and he was like, nah, I'm hurt. We definitely thought that way about DeAndre Swift. How did you get injured on that play? You fell down too hard? You got a boo-boo? You fell down too hard? All right. That's how we were looking at DeAndre Swift. All right. So before I get into, I'm going to get into Artur's comments, and then I'm going to get into the NFC North report as we talked about. Okay. So he said, yeah, he's just pointing that out. Yeah, cool. All right, so the NFC North report. Again, guys, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share the stream. If you're trying to comment and you can't comment, then just all you have to do is subscribe. You only have to be subscribed for 60 seconds, and then you'll be able to comment. Obviously, I'm trying to build my subscribership back up. And things of that nature, much to the chagrin of some. However, this is what I'm doing. Okay. Anyway, the NFC North report. Let's start with the easiest game to talk about. We're going to talk about the Packers and their demolishing of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, let's point some things out first and foremost. The San Francisco 49ers were missing their starting quarterback, their best offensive lineman, and their best defensive lineman. And then the guy that they started at quarterback, I didn't understand. Why not just start Josh Dobbs? You know, he can come in and he'll throw the ball for 300-400 yards. He might throw some picks, but I think it would have been better than what Brandon Allen gave them, right? Brandon Allen, I don't know, has he ever been good at quarterback in the NFL? Has he ever had any buzz? Where did he even come from? At least the Pastronaut has a cool nickname. And he's in the Progressive commercial. So just based off of the nickname and the commercial alone, you start the Pastronaut. You start Josh Dobbs. All right. Yeah, so he's been around, knows the system. It didn't make any sense to me, but Kyle Shanahan made that choice. He made his bed. He laid in it. Jordan Love broke a streak of 11 straight games of having a turnover. While Packers fans may be encouraged by that and they be like, oh, maybe he turns the corner, he threw a pass directly to Malik Mustafa. If you don't know this, Malik Mustafa plays safety for the San Francisco 49ers. Last night, he was wearing a golden helmet, a white jersey with red numbers and letters, and golden pants with a red stripe down the side, which is a stark contrast to the yellow helmet. Well, see, maybe it was just the helmets because gold and yellow aren't that far off. Okay, but the green jerseys, we're just going to go there because gold pants, gold helmet, yellow helmet. Okay, cool. I got that. But the green jersey and the white jersey, very stark contrast. And he threw a pass directly to Malik Mustafa. Malik Mustafa was so overwhelmed by the fact that this ball came directly to him that he dropped it. Much like a former San Francisco 49ers safety or DB and a former NFL DB, Jaquiski Tartt. Do y'all remember Jaquiski Tartt when Matthew Stafford threw his Super Bowl chance right into the hands of Jaquiski Tartt and he dropped it? And he's never played in the NFL again. Okay, so it was a situation like that. I'm going to keep saying it until it's not true. Jordan Love makes bad decisions. He just makes bad decisions. And not only did he throw the ball directly to Malik Mustafa, he threw balls into triple coverage, double coverage. He just doesn't care about coverage. And I'm telling you, if he's throwing balls like that, if he's getting gunslingerish against the Detroit Lions, smash and grab, okay, a.k.a. Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are going to be back there to pick you off. I'm also upset that this Brandon Allen dude threw a pick to Xavier McKinney, and now he's tied with Kirby Joseph for the league lead in interceptions. Okay, this is a Packers team that had not created a turnover in 2 weeks, and Brandon Allen, I think, threw about 3 of them things. Okay, he was not good. The Packers were supposed to win this game. I said, if the Packers win this game, do not win this game, they are cooked. I said whoever loses this game is cooked. The San Francisco 49ers are cooked not because they're a bad team, it's because they can't overcome whatever injuries that they're dealing with, and they're running out of time to make the playoffs. That being said, The NFC West division is not separate at all. Every team is like within one game of each other to be either at the top or the bottom of the division. So somebody has to come out of the NFC West. All right. But the concern for the Packers fans should be, and put a bow on that and be happy about it for the Detroit Lions fans should be that Jordan Love is a very, very poor decision maker. And if he wasn't playing a banged up team, whatever, I don't know what was going on with the defense of San Francisco. I mean, obviously, the defense, I'm not going to say obviously, the defense didn't really play well from the beginning of the game. And I really felt like if the 49ers had a chance at all in that game, it was going to have to be the defense holding things up. Okay? Obviously, Josh Jacobs ran roughshod over them, but we saw last year in the NFC Championship when we rushed for 150 yards in the first half that you can run on that defense. Right? So they past few years, they haven't been great against the run. They're much better against the pass, but against Jordan Love last night, they weren't there to pick him off when they should have, and pass rush suffered because Bosa was out and so on and so forth. There were lots of reasons, but did I expect that from the Packers? Yes. Did I learn anything about the Packers? No. Just like we didn't learn anything about the Lions when they played the Jaguars, except for when you put a team in front of them that they are supposed to beat, they're going to beat them. They're going to throttle them. There's no such thing as a trap game, which is important, right? Did the Packers see the 49ers in a trap game? No, they actually had that game circled. Why? Because Jordan Love, true to form, in the divisional round of the playoffs last season, 2 minutes left in the game, throws a pick. Did he? Okay, here's the other. I got to get to this. This slipped my mind. Okay, it's about Jordan Love. I was watching a podcast. Shout out, I think it's Bootleg Football. Okay, and this is not a shot at them or anything. I just don't understand the Jordan Love excuses. My guy is a turnover machine. According to Bootleg Football, okay, who very knowledgeable about football. Those two guys, great podcast. If you want to learn about, concepts and things of that nature, they're great at it. I'm not disparaging them at all. If anybody shows them a clip and says, hey, he was bad-mouthing you, not at all. The Jordan Love thing is crazy wild to me because they're like, well, his coach doesn't have a problem with his interceptions because it leads to big plays. And then the other is like, oh, he's just so fun to watch. He's such a gunslinger. Bro, 100% agree with you if he doesn't make those decisions in the fourth quarter to cost him playoff games. 100% agree with you if he doesn't make those decisions at the end of a first half in a game where you're already down by 7 points. You give up a pick six, you're down by 14 points. And then you go back into the half and you come out and you're down 21. That is concerning because whatever you do in a situation where a team is already winning in the first half, going into the second half, and they're going to get the ball coming out of it, you don't give them an opportunity to score. You definitely don't throw them a pick six. So these are situations in which it is a problem for Jordan Love to be doing the things that he does. It is a problem for him to be making those decisions. It just is. And anybody that can't see that is not being honest with themselves. It is a problem. Jordan Love is throwing interceptions that make no sense because he's doing it with poor decision making, and it does come back to bite him. This is why he's 5-4 as a starter this season. All right. Anyway, Artur says he plays like Stafford and Allen under pressure, but doesn't have the raw talent to rise to their level of pull out your ass. All right, that's a good way to put it. All right. So the other part of the NFC North report, we're going to go on and talk about the Bears versus the Vikings. Look, and I'll always say this, okay? And when we do our lead up to the game, when we do our preview to the game against the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving, again, I will cite this. The 2-8 Cleveland Browns beat the 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers simply because when you go into a game in the division, the records do not matter. They don't. Remember when the Lions went 0-16? Everybody in the division, they played them tough. Obviously, they didn't beat them. They didn't beat anybody that year. But they didn't just lay down because, oh, our record sucks. No. Once you're in the division, we know you, we hate you, and we want to ruin your season. Okay? Those are 3 points that no other team can put all in with any consistency. Okay? We know you, we hate you, we want to ruin your season. That is what happens every time divisional games come about. Okay? So you can throw out the records. So if you think that we're going to blow Chicago out by 30 points, you may be right. But going into the game, don't think that way because it is a divisional opponent. 2-8 Cleveland Browns beat 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously now they're 3-8 and 8-3. But the point is, going into the game, that was their records. Records be damned. The Cleveland Browns won the football game. So now when we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears, this is a game where the Vikings looked like they had it in hand. Okay? Sam Darnold did not throw any interceptions. I don't think he had any turnovers. Okay? Caleb Williams did not throw any interceptions. He did not have any turnovers. Special teams for Chicago continues to be an issue, and their defense isn't playing like what you thought they would be playing at the start of the season. Kevin Byard is looking like the Kevin Byard in Philadelphia more often than he needs to. As I said, I wasn't really concerned about the Kevin Byard signing because he isn't the Kevin Byard that was so dynamic in Tennessee. He's older towards the end of his career. Okay. Keenan Allen has seemed to catch a case of the dropsies, which is funny because you catch a case of something that you drop. Interesting. Rome Odunze is blossoming. Pause. Because obviously we have, Caleb Williams at quarterback. So Rome Odunze he has the talent. He has the ability. He is a rookie. He will catch the 50-50 balls if you give him the opportunity. Okay? The Chicago Bears did push the ball down the field a little bit more this game. It wasn't all the short passing, around the line of scrimmage types of things. But I did see one particular play, which, again, how many of these plays are you going to make in the game? Where it was 3rd and 2. The pass went 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Cole Kmet, I believe it was hit immediately and dropped. It's now 4th and 4. They went for it. They did get it. Because they allowed Caleb Williams to break contain. And as I said, he'll run around. Caleb Williams, okay, to his credit, this is to his credit. I didn't want to give him this credit. But once you see it so many times, you just have to say, okay, he's got something in the pocket. Okay, Caleb Williams has something in the pocket. He has some sort of escapability. He doesn't look like he should have it. he's just got the ability to get a hand off of him, to just get out of the grasp. And we're going to have to do a really good job on Thursday of making sure that doesn't happen, because Caleb Williams does that, like I said, because he doesn't know how to let a play die. And once he got to overtime, okay, he had a situation where it was second down. He takes an 11-yard sack. So now it's like 3rd and 16. Then directly after that sack, he gets a delay of game. Obviously, that's something with getting the play call in and getting the center to go ahead and snap the ball, which you should have been able to do because you're at home. It's not like they were on the road. Okay. So that was, again, a crucial moment. He had, great stats. I think he threw for 300 plus yards. He rushed for another 30, 40 yards, which on his face is a great stat line, right? Last week against the Packers, he rushed for 70 yards. Okay, on 9 carries, which these things are all good for Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams is learning how to be a better NFL quarterback, but what he doesn't seem to be learning, and I hope he continues not to learn this past Thursday, all the way into our next game against them, which late in the season in Chicago, is how to let a play die. He's so in love with being the hero. He's so in love with playing hero ball that it just, again, just like Jordan Love, it crops up at the wrong time, crops up at the wrong moment. The Bears' offensive line played so much better yesterday than they usually play. They were actually able to keep Brian Flores' pressure-packed defense a bit at bay. Caleb Williams didn't get sacked like a whole lot. So, the change at offensive coordinator has clearly created a new level of enthusiasm in their offense, and he seems to be listening to the new offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, which that answers my question to a degree. I wondered who was it that he'd be listening to when it came to this. Okay. Now, the thing about that is they had the fight yesterday. They fought back. They got it to overtime. They're not giving up. This is the 3rd divisional game in a row. They lost a heartbreaker but they were in Chicago. They lost a heartbreaker at home to the Green Bay Packers. They lost a heartbreaker at home to the Minnesota Vikings. Now the question is, what is the mental state of the Chicago Bears showing up on Thursday at Ford Field at 12:30 in the afternoon on Thanksgiving? That is pretty much what we're going to find out. It could be a very fragile mental state when this defense starts to choke you out. You're looking up, because here's the thing also about Chicago. Chicago doesn't play great offense. No matter if they scored 27 points against the Vikings, for the first 3 quarters of the game, they scored 10. Okay? I think Minnesota kind of let off the gas because they were playing a little bit of prevent, trying not to let them back in the game. And this is, once you start playing prevent, you're preventing yourself from winning. But Chicago's offense isn't good. Okay. Now they're saying over there in Chicago, well, you know, because I watch Bears podcast for entertainment. They're saying, well, Caleb is putting them in the position to win. That may be true, but with the Lions not allowing a touchdown in 10 and a half quarters of football, that's 2.5 games. At what point do you lose the game with your defense? 27-10 going into the fourth quarter at some point in the fourth quarter is a losing game against the Detroit Lions. If you're going into the fourth quarter down 27-10, you're not coming back. That's just the way that it is. Okay? The Detroit Lions still have not allowed more than one passing touchdown in any game this season. So that is not something that I think that you can overcome. If your offense starts slow and your defense ain't playing great, this one can get out of hand quickly. So that is the option that they have. They can only come out and play fast and ramp up the tempo on both sides of the football. Because if they can't, I think this gets out of hand. Oh, we're playing in all blacks. Let's go. It's another blackout playing in the all blacks. Let's go, Detroit Lions. And I was so inspired by the blackout game that I just kept the blackout theme. Like, that's just my theme. I didn't used to have all the blackout situation going on, but once that game happened, you know, shutting down the grid, everything, it's just all black everything all the time. You know, obviously except for the electric blue and neon and stuff that we got going on. But once again, guys, appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate you stopping through our tour. Appreciate you and all your insight. You truly kept the chat going. I don't know if it's the subscriber only mode where a lot of other people didn't say much. But again, guys, if you are trying to talk in the chat and you see that your messages aren't going through, I got my subscriber only mode on. There are reasons now that we need to build up this channel. I won't get into the reasons on air. But just know that people are getting nasty. Okay. And it is what it is. You know, sometimes people are that way. If that person is in the chat, if that person is in the stream, I hope that you get the help that you deserve, or not that you deserve, that you need. Okay. I hope that you get the help that you need, because it is what it is, man. But like I said, I won't get too far into it. Once again, guys, I appreciate you. The Motor City Cats are back at it. I came to give you stats, not static, even though some people want to bring static at all times. But whatever you do, and I can't tell you what to do, I can only suggest that you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And that's going to be it for us today, guys. And we're just going to have to say peace.